bleed green? Are you an ultimate Eagles football fan? Well, you're in the right place.
Ready?
This is Birds 365, hosted by the new Mac and Mac, Jody McDonald and John McMullen.
Here we go.
Who collectively have covered and talked about more than 50-plus years of Eagles football. Kick off your day with Birds 365. You'll get debate.
We love to argue.
You'll get the real story from inside the locker room. And you'll hear from some of the great football minds from around the region. You're about to become an Eagles insider. Get in the game. Join Jody Mack and Johnny Mack and join the football community that flocks to Birds 365. Birds 365 starts right now.
Welcome to the NFL. Let's go! Let's go! Go!
And a good Thursday morning, football fans, specifically you Eagle fans. It is officially draft day, or at least the first round. We're here with you for the next 2 hours, John McMullen and Jody McDonald. Sorry, we're a couple of minutes late, and we were either doing our final prep for the draft or arguing about the star power of Orange Cassidy. You can guess which one it actually was. Johnny Mackett is here. We've been waiting weeks, months for draft day to arrive. And it's not just us here at Birds 365 because we're Eagle devotees, but they are one of only 3 teams that as of now are scheduled to make 2 picks in the first round. There are 3 teams with no picks in the first round and 3 teams with 2 picks in the second round. The Eagles are one of those. Yeah, Houston's picking 2 and 12, so theirs are a little bit more significant than 10 and 30, but still there are only 3 teams with 2 picks, and the Eagles are one of them, and we expect Howie Roseman to be a mover and a shaker and talking to everybody and potentially dealing up and dealing down. We got 20 minutes here before we punch up our first guest, Jeff Kerr, so I'm going to ask you to do a little crystal ball work for us today. At number 10, the Philadelphia Eagles as of now are scheduled to select at number 10. I asked you to put percentage on it yesterday, and you gave me more likely to trade up than anything else. You went, I think it was 50, 40, and 12,
40,
or maybe that
40,
was
30, 30.
40, 30, 30.
But
and
mainly because I don't know if they can trade. I think they want to trade up. So if you put want, I would go much higher. I would go 75, 80. I think they want to get one of those pass rushers. And Jalen Carter's in that conversation. Different types, obviously, interior, outside. Although, strangely, and I mentioned it yesterday, I haven't heard anything on Will Anderson. I assume they like him, but I haven't heard anything with the Eagles and Will Anderson. I know they like Tyree Wilson a lot. And now it seems pretty clear they also like Paris Johnson a lot. So, but I don't think they would move up to go get the offensive lineman. The pass rushers, though, I think that makes sense to me. And I think they want to go up. The question is, can they go up? And
right.
That's the bigger question.
And that's the reason why my percentage, excuse me, a little lower than yours on the potential trade up. I think it's more difficult than in other years, or that Eagle fans would like to think the Eagles can move up. It's pretty costly to move up in the top of the first round. When you're in the top 10, and I'm not just referring to Jimmy Johnson's trade chart, but it still does have some play in the National Football League. I've had draft guys on, not necessarily here on Birds 365, but on my radio shows over the last several years, and most of them told me, yeah, the teams all have it handy. They all have it in their draft room. They all refer to it. Sometimes they'll say, we want to do a deal, even though we're not getting the correct value in return. Don't care, want to do it. It's not a mandate, but it is a guideline that they still use. And moving up in the draft from 10 to whatever you need to get the player that you want can be pretty damn expensive. And oh, by the way, the Eagles don't have the draft capital on the back end to make those kind of deals without a 4th, a 5th, and a 6th round pick heading into this draft. So I'm of the belief that despite the fact that they may want to, I don't know that they're going to be capable of. And I just jotted this down this morning, and we've been talking about all these players for months now. Who do you think is going to be there when the Eagles pick? If I give you Anderson and Wilson off the board, can we agree with that they would have to get up really high to get either one of those two guys?
Yeah. I think, again, Will's kind of a strange one to me because I don't know. He might fall a little bit, but I don't think there's any way he's going to fall to 10. So, yeah, I would agree with that. And then you have the quarterbacks, and then you start. Now it looks like, Witherspoon is a guy the NFL seems to like more than the average draftnik, shall we say. And I think, it had been Gonzalez. Now it seems like Witherspoon is probably going to be the first corner off the board. But that's a little shaky. And then the quarterbacks, Aaron Wilson had a report out this morning that Tennessee's trying to get up to 3 to get CJ Stroud. And that would change things dramatically. So by the way, when you talk about trade ups, Jody, when teams are going up to get a quarterback, they're willing to pay more.
Overpay, yes.
Yeah. So that makes it more difficult for you to move up for a positional player if you're the Philadelphia Eagles. So, yeah, it's easier said than done, but I do think they want to go up.
Here's the key guy for me, and I'll just take your opinion on this right here, right now. In the top 9 picks before the Philadelphia Eagles, how many quarterbacks go? It's got to be 2. Yeah. It's probably 3. The question is, will it be 4?
I don't think it's going to be 4.
You think
I had
2.
3? I had 2, and now if Tennessee wants to go up and get Stroud, or there was a lot of speculation they might wait and
well,
try
of your
to go.
2, you did not have Stroud as one of the 2. You had Stroud falling down past 10.
No, I mine was Indianapolis, like sort of what their flavor they want is. So what I've heard is Irsay, I think it's Chris Ballard likes Levis, I believe. I have to look it up. Chris Ballard likes Levis, the assistant GM likes Stroud, and I think Shane would like to replicate what they've done here with Richardson, with that RPO like offense. He's seen it, up close. He's seen what it does. So it's kind of if it were me, I would give it. I would say I hired Shane to do the job. I would give him what he wants. If it were me, I don't think Chris Ballard's going to do that. I think he's going to take who he's going to take. And it's between Levis and Stroud. So, I would take Stroud, certainly. What are they going to do? I have no idea.
Here's the way that I think it's going to shake out. And if you're an Eagle fan, I think you need to root for this. And you can root for trade up for Carter all you want if they can do it and pay a reasonable price. More power to them. I'm not sure that's going to be the case. Or Tyree Wilson trapping get. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think the 2 top edge rushers will be gone. I think Carter will not fall. I think Carter's coming off the board at 5. So I think Seattle's going to take him. So I don't think the Eagles get the chance there. I think this is a replication of the 2021 draft, which you talk about a lot, John, how the Eagles ended up with Devontae Smith. Oh, they were going to take a cornerback. There was going to be a cornerback that was going to come to them, and then boom, boom, 2 cornerbacks come off the board right in a row, right before the Eagles were scheduled to draft, or a couple picks before the Eagles scheduled to draft. That's why they had to move back up to get Devontae Smith, because they didn't want to get shut out of the group of players that they had. This year's even better because they're not necessarily targeting a cornerback. So if Witherspoon and the Oregon kid both come off the board at, say, 7, 8, 8, 9, that means the Eagles will have their choice of either of the top two offensive linemen, Skoronski or Paris Johnson, and or any of the other pass rushing defensive ends not named Anderson and or Wilson from Texas A&M. If that's the case, they got their choice of the other defensive ends, edge guys, and both offensive linemen. That's a pretty good group of 5 to be picking out of. You know, I like Miles Murphy, but I don't think he's going at number 10. So I'm putting him in the mix for the sake of this conversation, even though I don't think the Eagles are going to take him. If that's their group that they're choosing from at 10, do they either take one? Do they roll the dice and try and trade down a little bit and still get one of those guys? Assuming the 9 off the board are 4 quarterbacks, the 2 edge rushers, Carter, and 2 cornerbacks. How do you think the Eagles play it at 10?
I think they take Paris Johnson if he's there. I think there are, Jalen Carter, Tyree Wilson, Paris Johnson, and I assume, and again, this is just an assumption, Will Anderson. If any of those players are on the board, those are the players I think they would take. Anybody else, I've been hedging back and forth on Christian Gonzalez. I don't think they take Witherspoon. I think they like Gonzalez better than Witherspoon.
So do I.
Obviously, we can cross the quarterbacks off. You don't have to worry about that. But the other group, then I think it's tier 2 for them. And then I think it's about trading down. Now, but again, same thing with trading up. There's a lot of things you want to do. You got to be able to do it. You got to be able to. And that's what I think, to be honest, what all this Bijan stuff is about.
So let me just, again, verify. If Paris Johnson is there, you think they take him?
Yes.
You think he's a tier 1 guy. If he falls to 10, boom, card goes in, they take him at 10.
Yes.
Yeah, so do I.
Anybody else from that, other than that group, Carter, Wilson, I assume Anderson, Paris Johnson, anybody else, I think that's what the Bijan stuff is. And a lot of people are helping him. My buddy Elliot Shore Parks is helping him. He's on the Bijan or bus train. Marcus Hayes is helping him. Howard's helping him by threatening to retire. That might get Howie to move. I joke with Howard, but it's, I think that's what all that sort of Russell, I think they want to convince somebody to come up if he's still on the board, and then move down a few spots, and then start the Nolan Smith, Lucas Van Ness, that group, the tier 2 group talk. That's what I think the plan is. That's what but again, just because you want to do something doesn't mean you can do something. But the 4 players I think they would take, if any of them fell to 10, are Wilson, Carter, Anderson, Paris Johnson.
All right. So where does Skoronski fall if he's tier 2?
He's in that tier 2.
Is he above the defensive ends in your mind?
I don't think so. And that's just a feel. That's not a report. I don't think so. Just knowing the Eagles, he's kind of a safe pick. I've seen that in comparison to Zach Martin. If he's going to turn into Zach Martin, and I say that for 2 reasons. One, I remember Zach Martin was one of the cleanest, safest prospects ever. If he wasn't, he played left tackle in college. And then I said, well, he couldn't play left tackle. Yeah, he could. But they didn't project him to play left tackle. But I remember talking to a scout, and he said, all right, if he doesn't, you can move him to guard. He's going to be an all-pro.
Yep.
He can play both guards. He can play right tackle. Sure enough, he's going to the Hall of Fame already. From the Eagles standpoint, I think they lean towards ceiling. And he's, I think safe is almost a bad word. Now, if he can turn into Zach Martin, I'll take him right now. I'll run up and get the card in it. I just don't see the upside. That's why I think they like Paris Johnson more than Peter Skoronski, because he's got a higher ceiling.
And, oh, by the way, it's funny you make the comparison with Zach Martin. That was the Johnny Manziel year that Jerry Jones desperately wanted to pick Johnny Manziel, and they had to, like, tie him to a chair to hand in the card for Zach Martin. Could we be looking at the same thing with Bijan Robinson down the road? Eagles take Skoronski, and Bijan Robinson goes several picks thereafter. Now, I'm not suggesting that Bijan's going to be Johnny Manziel, because I think Bijan's going to be a hell of a player, and Johnny Manziel was a stone-cold bust. But a much more well-known name was there, and at least one person in the organization wanted to take him. They went into the trenches, took the offensive linemen, and were much better off because of it, did the Cowboys, by taking Zach Martin instead of Johnny Manziel. All right, Johnny Mac, the Mac of Mac, Birds 365, guys, draft day's here. We've been waiting for it for weeks. Glad to have it. You got some of Johnny and I's thoughts on this. First pick in the first round. The Eagles have a second pick. That's only one of the things we're going to talk with our first guest about. That would be Jeff Kerr from CBSSports.com. He joins us next here on Birds 365.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
Imagine for a moment that you went to work today, and when you came home, you were catastrophically injured. Your life and your family's life. That's what happened to union construction worker Mike Little.
I was scared of what the end was going to be, but to be 100% honest with you, I knew I was going to be all right just by talking with Brian. In my heart, I just knew everything was going to be all right.
Call the firm and find out why they say, "We got this." Call 215-458-2222.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Draft day here on Birds 365. First round gets underway at 8 o'clock tonight. John McMullen will be down at the Eagles headquarters, right? You'll be there to talk to Howie Roseman after the first round?
Correct. I will be at the NovaCare complex.
I will be about 4 feet to my right over on my couch watching the NFL draft here on my 40-inch flat screen TV. Where will Jeff Kerr from CBSSports.com going to be? We know he's here with us this morning. Where are you going to be for tonight's first round of the draft, JK?
I wish I'd be joining John McMullen tonight, but I got my last round of bowling playoffs tonight. So,
Whoa!
So when the Eagles are picking, I'll probably be trying to throw a 300 game.
All right. Well,
Did you just throw a 300 game within the last year?
Not within the last year. I've had a couple 290 plus games, but no.
look at that humble brag.
Yeah,
I've had a couple 290 plus, Jody.
Yeah.
Well,
Now
we
290 plus means wait, you got 11 straight strikes, and then you choked on the last one.
Yeah, or I got 9 spare and then got 11 straight strikes.
Okay. All right.
So I choked early.
Well, don't be choking tonight. All right, and we expect you not to choke with us today here. The smoke is blowing heavy. We're less than 12 hours from the draft. People are trying to put misinformation out there and giving off vibes and off the record type stuff. This is, if you're a reporter like you two guys are, not me, I just sit and evaluate. How difficult is this to try and work your way through what's real and what's not real, Jeff?
I've heard so many stories already, and John's probably heard the same stories from either the same people or different people. You know, I hear they're going to trade up, and whether that's and the whole Tony Pauline thing. Well, they're going to trade for Will Anderson. Like I never heard Will Anderson's name once in this entire.
Neither have I. It's weird.
Yeah, it's Jalen Carter if they're doing that, but I don't think he's getting past 6. And I've been told that. We'll see. I think everything it's in one ear and out the other, and this is where I tell you guys. But ultimately, if I had to take a guess on what they're going to do tonight, I actually think they trade down from 10.
Well, I think that's how I described it, Jeff. I think they want to trade up, but I think the assumption is, all right, too often they want to trade up, so they will trade up. Doesn't mean you can find somebody who wants to trade up with you. And then it becomes, I think there's 4, Jody and I were talking, I think they have 4 tier 1 players, Jalen Carter, as you mentioned, Paris Johnson, Tyree Wilson, and Will Anderson. And Will Anderson, I'm kind of speculating because I'm like you. It's weird. I assume they like him. Why wouldn't they like him?
Did they have Will Anderson in for a visit?
No.
Was he here?
No. So my assumption is, it's one of those clean prospects that they didn't have any questions about. And, he's just so good. You don't need to worry about doing all the homework. But that's just speculation. Then I think it comes down to tier 2. So if you can't get up to get one of those guys, then I think you start talking about trading down. And that's where I think all this Bijan stuff is coming from.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So, John, I'm sure you saw the tweet with Howard Eskin. They picked Bijan Robinson at 10. I will
complicating things for Howie.
I was literally just going to go after Howard right then and there. I'm like, what if they pick him at, say, 13?
Well, he did say 10.
He said
Howard
10.
Did say 10.
He covered his backside by saying at 10.
Yeah.
If they trade up at 8, Howard continues to get the work because he just said
good
at
point,
10.
Jody. Good point.
Yeah, I think Howard. I like to read stuff Howard tweets just for my entertainment, but I think there's a cryptic message in there personally.
All right. What do you think it is that they're going to trade?
Trade up or trade down?
I gave my little draft tidbit today, which I'll share with you guys. I do not think they will be at 10. I don't think they're going to pick at 10 tonight.
I agree with that. I mean, then that's typical. We talked about last year how we started the process with 3 first-round picks. He moved one early to get out into the next year again, and he didn't pick any of them at the original spot. Right. So, I mean, that's his history. What you saw me on Twitter, Jeff. One of the hilarious things to me is insert name is calling around. Yeah, that's his job. Why are these stories?
They all do this.
Yes. What insert general manager's name is calling around? Well, he damn well better be. That's his freaking job. So
I just keep trying to tell people, watch for Jackson Smith-Njigba tonight. That's the guy I feel is the best receiver in the draft, and I think teams are going to try to see where the board is around where the Eagles are. And I'm not saying he'd go at 9 or 10, but I think teams are going to try to one-up each other and try to get them.
Well, if you want a receiver, you know, he might get pushed up the board a little bit because I think the gap between number 1 and number 2 is pretty significant this year at wide receivers. So if you want a receiver, you probably want him. And
I'm
that
just
might
looking
push
at
him
the
up board.
teams. I'm just looking at the teams like 11. Tennessee would need one, but I think they want a quarterback more. You know, Green Bay has made it no secret. By the way, Brian Gutekunst, that guy makes his. I'd love to play poker with him because I feel like he overplays his hand a little bit. I think everybody around the league knows the Green Bay Packers would love to get another wide receiver for Jordan Love, and I think teams are going to take advantage of him.
I know Aaron Rodgers plays him, but doesn't have to anymore. But that's Jody's problem now as he emerges from the darkness.
Doesn't it feel like the Packers and the Jet, like the first round pick swap, was really the hurdle that got that deal done?
Sure, and the Packers were the ones who insisted on it, and it tells you they're locked in on a player. You're suggesting it could be Jackson and Jigba. I think it's a tight end. I think they are ready to go first tight end off the board, and that's going to be.
Yeah, I think it's a tight end too. That's one of my bold picks. I think they're going Michael Mayer that high.
Yeah,
yep.
I think it's a pass catcher. I will say that.
Well,
so I'm
and
not going to
I said it's either going to be Mayer or Dalton Kincaid. I would take Mayer because Mayer can catch the ball. I mean, he's just weird old school tight end that people don't think of as for some reason because he can block.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like the best friend for a young quarterback. He's the best contested catch guy. That's exactly what you want for a young quarterback.
Yeah, I think Mayer is the better prospect than Kincaid, but Kincaid reminds me of like that Zach Ertz type. Like he's going to catch everything, but he's got a little bit more yak than Zach Ertz. So I think if you get Kincaid in say the late teens, Detroit, I think that's a great value.
It's a good tight end draft.
It's funny that the way you guys both described the tight end. One sounds like Zach Ertz to me. The other sounds like Dallas Goedert. In his prime, Zach Ertz. Not Zach Ertz now, but Zach Ertz at his best is what Kincaid might be. Dallas Goedert at his best is what Mayer might be. So you get to choose between which of the very good Eagle tight ends they've had over the last 7 or 8 years. All right. How many quarterbacks do you think are going to go prior to the Eagles? Because that will help to determine who is on the board at 10. If Howie's attempting to move up, can't get it done, sitting there at 10. John just gave me a good breakdown of the tier 1 and the tier 2 guys. Well, we know the quarterbacks are on neither tier because the Eagles don't need one. But depending on how many go, that depends how many get pushed down to the Eagles at 10. How many QBs you got going in the first 9, JK?
Ooh, this is a good one. So I'm going to add to McMullen's point earlier he made about the whole calling and stuff. The Houston Texans are picking the quarterback tonight. I'm sorry. Like, I think that's a bunch of smokescreen, too, with Cesario just trying. And the smartest people in the league are, falling for it. So I'll say quarterback 1, Bryce Young. I think Carolina's had their sights set on Bryce Young ever since they traded up for 1. I think Houston will take a quarterback at 2. I'm curious to see what the Cardinals do. Personally, I just think they're going to take the best player available in Will Anderson and call it a day. I think the Colts will get Richardson at 4, so that's 3 of the first 4. If Richardson's there at 4, that's what I think they get.
That's what Johnny Mack said, that they'll let Steichen make the call, and Steichen will take
I said they should let Shane make the call, but I don't think they will. Just I think Chris Ballard's too
By the way, I can't stand Will Levis.
Horses ass.
I think Will Levis is probably one of those players I wouldn't touch just because I watch him at Penn State. He literally can't throw. I know that's a Neanderthal way of thinking, but he can't throw.
Yeah, you Penn State guys are, college coaches. I got a thing with college coaches because, Joe Burrow couldn't get on the field at Ohio State. It worked out pretty well.
Which was a joke. Now here's the other part.
Justin Fields couldn't get on the field at Georgia. Worked out pretty well for him.
Now here's the other part of this Will Levis thing. If Shane Steichen drafts him, I'm sold. I think Will Levis could be really, really good. I love the intangibles Will Levis brings. I actually like his demeanor. I like his personality. But without Liam Cohn, he just wasn't a good quarterback. And he needs the right coach. He needs the right people.
All quarterbacks need the right coach.
Yeah,
I mean,
but he's definitely one. If he gets Shane Steichen, I'll tell you what, even if the Texans would take him, I think I would like Will Levis.
I'm just saying the Penn State stuff doesn't bother me. The fact
it bothers me.
The fact that he couldn't beat out Sean Clifford. These college coaches, man. Justin Fields couldn't beat out Jake Fromm. These guys, they win with recruiting at the college level, not coaches. They just recruit better players.
Well, we laugh at the whole people I talk to in the college scene. We laugh at that particular example where it's to us. It's not Justin Fields can't beat out Jake Fromm. It's why didn't Kirby Smart just play Justin Fields from the beginning? I mean, Levis Clifford. I never understood why they didn't play Levis more when they did. And then when you watch him and then when you ran the packages they played for him, I'm like, am I missing something here? Why can't this guy throw? And he went to Kentucky and, again, got with the right people. And I was happy for him when he transferred. But of the four, I'm the least sold on Will Levis right now.
Well, I would agree with that. I'm with you there, but not because of that. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. Well, look what I'm wearing, John.
Yeah. That's like Jody with the S2 stuff. Like, I've seen too many college. Those guys. Urban Meyer's one of the worst football coaches I've ever seen. He's
a
tremendously successful at the college level. When he got where everybody's on an even playing field, he had no freaking clue what to do.
He's a terrible coach. He's a terrible coach. I've heard this from multiple players that played in college.
Oh, yeah.
He's not a good coach.
Yeah.
He's not. He's just out-talented.
He's a good recruiter. He's a good recruiter.
I mean,
let's put Urban Meyer and college coaching on the back burner and get to the Eagles at number 30. We've all got a little different look at how it's going to sit at 10. I think they're going to sit pat. I think Paris Johnson is going to fall down to him. I think they hand the card in pretty damn quickly at approximately 9:40, which, by the way, starting the draft at 8 o'clock. I'm going to predict right now that the first round is not ending till approximately 12:45 tonight. I think it's going to take a while, and people on the East Coast are going to be ticked off, specifically Philadelphia, because the Eagles will be sitting there at number 30, which means they'll be well after midnight for that second pick. So you got to stay tuned. How does that second pick shake out, Jeff Kerr? Is this an obvious trade down position for Howie? It has to be for me because I got him staying put at 10. And you know Howie's got to move at least one of them. He can't take them both at 10 and 30. Trade up, trade down. How do you think Howie maneuvers the 30th pick of the draft?
Man. So this is tough. It all depends how bad they want that player with the fifth-year player out or how the board plays out. Like, if there's a guy like B.J. Ujiri at 30, you would have to think they take him, right, John?
Well, obviously, in Jody's scenario, if you get the offensive lineman, it kind of is dependent on what you get early. Obviously, if you take an edge rusher early, you're not going to take two edge rushers.
Right.
So a lot of it's dependent on the first pick. I think they want out of that spot. I do. But again, I think they'd like to get not too far down, but early in the second round and pick up some extra draft capital because they're going to have a cluster of players sort of graded very closely. But,
John, is it
Brandon Hooker's gone. But go ahead.
Yeah, is it a bold prediction to say the Eagles are going to get another second-round pick tonight?
Well, I think they want that. That's what I mean. They want it. I think they want to get out of 30 to get early in the second round to get that second-round pick. And again, this is assuming they're not trading up with number 10 because you might have to give up that second-round pick. That the one you do have. So a lot of it's assumption, but I do think they want out of 30. Early into the second round. They'll have, as I said, a cluster of players. They'll be able to pick up that extra draft capital. And I think that's a preferable way to go. But again, if you don't have that quarterback, and a lot of people think Hendon Hooker is going to be gone. You mentioned Houston at number 2. I don't think they're taking a quarterback at number 2. I think it's a bad organization. They make bad decisions. They think, oh, we're comfortable with any quarterback that lasts till 12. I don't like that thought process. That tells me you don't like any quarterbacks. So I got an issue. But, I've seen two people, pretty plugged in people, say they might take Hooker at 12. At 12.
That would be the shocker of the draft, I think.
No shot. No chance.
And well, yeah.
And you know why? I think I agree with you on this, John, because I think the Titans are going to be one of those candidates to move up and get that quarterback depending on how.
Well, and now I wake up this morning and Aaron Wilson reports the Titans are looking to go up to 3 to get Stroud. Peter Schrager has the same report, so that tells me it's coming from the same spot. Same thing, going up to 3 to get CJ Stroud. So all of a sudden, things are moving pretty quickly when it comes to the quarterback.
But let me ask you a question on that Hendon Hooker at number 12. Are all 4 of the other quarterbacks gone before him, or is Hendon Hooker going to be picked before one of the quarterbacks that are thought to be the top 4?
Yeah, he would be picked before it was either, I think it was Richardson, picked before Richardson.
I don't see that happening.
All right.
Do you guys have a pen and a piece of paper?
I do.
I need you to write this down.
Okay.
Here's what's going to happen with the Eagles in the 30th pick. I'm getting very deep in the weeds here, and I'm telling you ahead of time, I'm taking a major, major shot here. Flying in the face of John's report that he just put out there that somebody else put out. Hendon Hooker will be available at number 30. The Eagles will get the benefit of a team trading to number 30 for the very specific reason of drafting Hendon Hooker and getting that 5th year added to it. The Eagles trade with the Vegas Raiders. Number 30 for number 38. Vegas drafts at 38 in the 2nd round. The Eagles get back in return the Raiders' 4th round pick, which is number 104, which is top of the 4th round, and they toss away 6th round pick, compensatory pick, well down in the 6th round at 174. So from moving down from 30 to 38, the Eagles get a 4th, which they need, an extra 6th, which they need. It's a late 6th. But at 38, the Eagles select Zach Charbonnet, running back, UCLA. They don't take Bijan Robinson. Jahmyr Gibbs is gone. They get the running back they need at 38. 30's a little high for him. If they wait till all the way till 62, Charbonnet won't be there. They trade the 38 with Vegas, who takes Hendon Hooker, and they get Zach Charbonnet at number 38. Any shot whatsoever of that happening?
Well, it's funny you say that, Jody, because in my Eagles only mock draft on Sports Illustrated, I have the Eagles trading down from number 30 to number 37 with Seattle, who comes up to get Hendon Hooker.
Okay.
And Philadelphia gets 37, 123, and 151.
Oh, by the way, and Howie and John Schneider have a pretty good relationship.
Yeah.
So that's good thinking on your part there, McMullen.
And I have them selecting Calais Ringo, the cornerback from Georgia. So a little bit different.
And they like him too.
Yes, they do.
If you want to pin players Eagles like in the draft, just go look at Georgia.
Yeah, when in doubt, take a Georgia guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, Nolan Smith's on that list. I don't think he's, like you said, the tier A on that list, John. But
I think
definitely
he's
there.
tier 2.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because Jody had him going down to 38. I had him going down to 37. Both of us had him teams going up to get Hooker. Jody takes the running back. I take the cornerback. I haven't taken running back in the 3rd round. The kid from UAB, McBride.
And somebody tuned me into him during the season, John, and they finally got a national game late in the year, and the kid stunk. I specifically watched the game to watch him play because somebody told me he's the best running back in the country, a guy whose opinion I appreciated. So I said, all right, I've not seen this kid play. Let me tune into this guy. He did nothing. And I was like all excited to move him up my running back draft board. And I don't think he worked out at the combine because he's got some kind of an injury. Yeah, I don't think he's going in the top 3 rounds. The Eagles may end up with him. They may be able to get him in day number 3. But that was a name that I seriously considered as an Eagle running back during the year.
Should I upset Eagles fans today?
Go for it.
We do it every day, Jeff.
Okay.
Join the party.
When you stream in, you get to see the stream. They
I see the comments, boys.
Yes.
So I am going to say this. When Lucas Van Ness visited them, I don't think they thought they were going to fall in love with Lucas Van Ness.
They love him.
And they did.
Him.
They love Lucas Van Ness. And
drives Eagles fans crazy.
Yeah, I know. For heaven forbid, because they never seen Lucas Van Ness actually play football. He didn't start. Yeah, I didn't start either. I had whatever. I was a productive player. You don't need to start. It's so funny when people tell me that. Oh, you didn't start. I'm like, he played the most snaps. He had the most sacks. Like, he's a really good football player. They just think, oh, Lucas Van Ness. It's almost like that's not an NFL name, so we don't like him.
Yeah, I don't know what every year there's one player they gravitate that they love and one player that they hate. High profile players. Bijan's the love this year. Van Ness is the hate. I don't get it. I can't figure it out. But I think
do you think they like Bijan because he has a mustard?
I think they like Bijan because, and I call him Bijan now.
Bijan.
Yeah. It's fantasy football video game mindset. And it's not just Eagles fans. Everybody wants skill position players every year. It's boring to take offensive linemen. It's not boring to take pass rushers, but like last year, interior defensive line with Jordan Davis, kind of boring. Devontae Smith, that's pretty exciting. Running back, when you get Saquon Barkley, that's pretty exciting for a fan base.
I remember 2 years ago when I talked to Devontae Smith. It was 2 days before the draft, and I just piqued his curiosity. I'm like, hey, man, you played with Jalen, what do you think? And
Jody and I were just talking about Johnny Manziel and Zach Martin. Think about, Dallas fans are like, oh, we got Zach Martin. We could have got Johnny.
Zach Martin's pretty good.
Yeah.
Jeff had his brothers. You would have had Johnny Manziel.
Yeah. Dallas had Johnny football.
Dallas had a run there where they had the most boring picks ever, but they were pretty good when they picked them.
Oh, yeah. Zach's going to the Hall of Fame already if he doesn't play another down.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll tell you what, I think Tyron Smith, if he ain't get injured, he has a pretty strong case too, regardless.
Yeah. So it's not just Eagles fans, but, skill position players are sexy and offensive linemen are not.
You know what it is? I still say, like you said about the fantasy football thing, I think Eagles fans want to draft Bijan Robinson #1 in their fantasy football league just to say that they're rooting for an Eagle and a fantasy football player.
Yeah, fantasy football is part of it. I don't think you get points for having the best offensive line.
I will say this, because I do think they're trading down. I wouldn't be upset they picked Bijan at 10. But I think if they do pick Bijan, they trade down.
Well, I think everybody would be excited if they pick Bijan at 10 now because Howard's got to retire if they do that.
All right.
I'll call him out on that the first time I see him this year.
Let me put this to you guys. The 30th pick in the draft, we believe, when there's only 32 picks, because Miami had to forfeit their pick. So you're next to last in the first round. The added value is that fifth year of a rookie deal. But as John told us couple of weeks ago here on the show, how he said sometimes it's a blessing, sometimes it's a curse, that you don't necessarily want that fifth year because then you have to decide whether you're going to pick up that option or not. And if you don't, why the hell do you take a guy in the first round if you don't even feel good enough to give him his fifth year? So I don't think the Eagles are looking to necessarily make that pick there. The only question is, can they get a team? John and I just manufactured a couple deals where they can move up. Teams move up and do have that value. if there's not the quarterback, if the 5 quarterbacks are gone and the Eagles have to make that pick at 30, that no one sees the added value of that 5th year and don't want to move up to get it, what position? Assuming you can lock it into whoever you think they're taking with their first pick in the first round, what position you think is most likely that pick late in the first round? JK, you first.
Yeah, for the Eagles, oh, man. So I did have them in my one and only mock draft, but I don't do trades. Them drafting a running back in the first round, it was Jahmyr Gibbs. But I think they would trade down for a running back. So I think if push came to shove, I think
they got to make the pick. Who do you got take them? Who do you have them taking early?
I think they would go. I think they early in the first round or later in the first round.
Well, the reason why I'm asking for early is because you don't believe they take the same position twice.
Yes.
So whoever they take early would count that position out for the.
I would go interior. I would go lineman in the first round early, and late I think they go secondary.
Oh, so you don't think they get an edge with either of the two?
Well, I said offensive or defensive line.
All right. Well, you're on the clock, Howie Roseman. Make a pick. You're going
I'm thinking of trading the pick. I'm Howie Roseman. I don't want that pick. I want to trade it. I want to get more picks.
All right. You're down to 10 seconds on the clock. You got to take either an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman.
You're Jacksonville's GM in draft day. You're panicking, Jeff Kerr. Give me a name.
I am panicking. That's why I'm back here with you guys. I don't do this. No, honestly, I do think this is tough. So I still say it's going to be Van Ness. I still say
so you're going edge first. So then what pick are you making at the bottom of the first round? You can't trade out. 30 is it. Nobody wants to move up. You're kind of forced to take the pick at 30 if you've taken Van Ness early. I won't even ask you to give me a name. I'm just asking you to give me a position. What position you go in the 30?
I go cornerback, and I think Banks could be there at 30. I really do.
I don't think Banks is there. I don't think Banks is getting past the Steelers.
He shouldn't get past the Steelers.
And if he gets past the Steelers, he's not getting past Minnesota at 23. He's going to go earlier than people expect.
You know what? I kind of think so too. But if there's a guy that for some reason I think slips, I don't know why. There's always a good player that slips. I think he would be the good player.
You know, I learned. Here's a little tidbit, Jeff. I learned that Mike Tomlin's son knows him very well. There's a big connection with
didn't they get recruited together?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they got to connect. We'll see if that shakes out. But a lot of rumors in Pittsburgh about Banks.
But then let me ask you a question, Mike Tomlin's representative. If Joey Porter and Banks are both on the board,
yeah, I think they go Banks.
Yeah, I think they go Banks too.
Over Porter, huh?
You know, it's interesting. Pete Schrager, I mentioned earlier, he just put out his mock draft. And smart, he waits as long as humanly possible.
Sure.
He's in the
He's got Porter falling all the way to 30 in the Eagles.
Yeah. Eagles getting Porter at 30?
I would take a flyer on Porter at 30.
So would I.
I am going to say this. This guy, I love Joey Porter, but he commits more pass interference penalties than Al Harris.
I mean, if they could, I hear you. That's something to be concerned about. But if they could get that kind of prospect at 30, I'd be comfortable not moving. I'd be all right. I'll take him.
You'll love his man. You'll love his man cover skills.
If the board falls that way, but Jody knows who I want. I want Brian Branch, and I don't know if he's going to be there.
Right.
You think he'll be there at 30?
As would I. I think there's no chance that he gets down to 30.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you not want a hybrid cornerback safety? Like you could play him at corner day one in the slot, or you could just say, you know what, have at it. You're our starting safety. You're next to Edmonds or Reed Blankenship or whoever it's going to be.
Yeah,
I think that's the only one who Howie might, and of course one depends on the other. If they don't trade up at 10, which I don't think they will, I think that's the only guy they would potentially trade up for from 30. If they get into the 26, 27 range, if Branch is still on the even though they have a shortage of draft picks thereafter, I think that'd be the one guy because not only does he deserve to go there, is he value there, it also upgrades a positional need for the Eagles at safety. So I think that's the only guy that they would potentially trade up for. You and I, all three of us are talking about how they could trade down and get into the second round and add an extra pick. The only guy they would move up for would be Branch, because I think he's coming off the board before we ever get anywhere.
I will say this. If they do trade up from 10, but again, that's 5th or 6th on the priority list. It's for Jalen Carter.
Yeah, but Carter, where do you think Carter's going to go? You think the Eagles trade up to get him? If so, where?
I was
if
told
not,
Jalen
where did
Carter,
you go?
I was told Jalen Carter will not go past 6.
Yeah,
I don't think he's getting
Detroit,
past 5.
I agree. I think Detroit is taking him if he's there, but Seattle.
It's Seattle or Detroit.
Seattle's the wild card.
Yeah, I think he's going to 5. That's why I don't think the Eagles are going to be able to get there.
Can I ask you this, McMullen? Where do you think the Raiders are
going? Witherspoon.
I think he's the best corner. I really do. I think he's better than Gonzalez.
Well, I got to
if they take Witherspoon, that adds potential to my trade down with the Raiders at the back end, because they didn't get the quarterback at the top. And if Hendon Hooker is still sitting there at 30, they move up to get him. And doesn't Hendon Hooker seem like a Raider type player? An old man in the sea type.
Especially if Mike Mayock was still there, he'd take him at 7.
You know who Hendon Hooker reminds me of? The future Tennessee Titans quarterback.
Now,
just keep him in Tennessee.
I like Hendon Hooker. Jody knows.
Too.
I mean, he is too old. The COVID stuff complicates things. He's coming off the injury as well. But I think he's more ready than anybody other than Young to play right away. When he gets healthy.
Yeah, I'd take CJ
I just
Stroud.
mean from
year one, I'm going to take CJ Stroud over Hendon Hooker.
My concern with CJ is, I think I said it yesterday on the show. He's never going to have a better wide receiver room than he had at Ohio State.
The best wide receiver in the draft isn't in the draft.
You know who had a really good college wide receiver room? Jalen Hurts. And then he was able to do what he did this year for the Eagles. So sometimes that plays, sometimes it doesn't.
Well,
if the kid's a talent, he's a talent.
I mean, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith, and Jigba.
Well,
and then
Jalen Hurts' year starting at quarterback for Alabama had, count them, 4 wide receivers who went in the first round.
Well,
4.
and the second part is, so are all those 4. They're all going in the 4 first round picks, and we've already seen Devontae. Garrett Wilson, you already saw he was the best rookie in the NFL last year. He's going to. By the way, Garrett Wilson is going to explode.
Yes.
I
was just about to say that he's going to have 1,500 yards this year if Aaron Rodgers.
Chris Olave was phenomenal with a terrible quarterback situation. We'll see about but everybody loves Njigba.
Don't you think the Saints are sneaky? Might be sneaky good this year.
No, I don't like the coach.
Well, I don't like the coach, but I like the talent.
They'll be better at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I think Derek Carr's better than a lot of quarterbacks. I don't
Jameis
like
and Dalton at all, who they had last year. Who came in here and beat the Eagles, stuck one of the only losses the Eagles had all year on them.
I got a problem with the coach, and I'm not dismissing.
I hate Dennis Allen. I can't believe him and Josh McDaniels are head coaches again in the National Football
And that's
League.
what I was getting to. My second point, what Jody brought up with Jalen. Look, Jalen got in a great situation, deserves all the credit, but I always talk about, he's part of the development as well. That's my issue with Justin Fields. I like the player. I think he's in a shitty situation. I think he's got a bad coaching staff. Fit means everything for quarterbacks, everything. So, who's going to Houston? They're up against it right away. Bad organization.
I do like their offensive coordinator, though. I don't like the organization. I agree with you, but I like their offensive coordinator a lot. Bobby Swonick, I think that's how you say his last name. The guy with
you can go about it different ways. You got a defensive head coach, first-time defensive head coach. I don't like that situation for quarterbacks. I love the Indianapolis situation. I love the Carolina situation. You got Frank Reich and Josh McCown mentoring Bryce Young. He's going to have every opportunity. Doesn't guarantee anything, but he's going to have every opportunity.
And you got Shane Steichen, who I still get asked by Justin Herbert 3 years later, how's Shane doing?
Yeah.
One quick question. Remember you asked earlier, can you piss off Eagle fans here on our board, Jeff? The answer, of course, is always yes. Let me take a shot at it. Why couldn't Frank Reich resurrect Carson Wentz?
Because I think there was more than fixing there than Frank Reich. I think it's can't fix the head. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. All right. Just that. And I like Frank Reich, but I don't think he's God's gift to offensive football. And I think that they're going to get a great player if they take Young. But I don't think it's a given that he shoots immediately.
By the way, here's some NFC East news here. I don't think the Commanders are as sold on Sam Howell as they say they are.
Wow. Yeah, of course. I mean, they're not insane.
But don't be shocked that they're a team that trades up tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think
take a QB in the first round.
Oh yeah.
I don't think anybody believes Washington when they say, "Oh, we're good with Sam Howell." I don't think anybody.
I don't. By the way, John, don't you hear this every year? This is the most unpredictable draft ever.
Well, this one is pretty.
It is unpredictable. I mean,
because you have so many new coaches, new GMs. They don't have a history. Like we have a history. We have a long history with Howie Roseman. That's why so many of us, are competent, because he's got foundational principles that he's stuck to over the years. When you have first-time GMs or young coaches, you don't know what the hell they're going to do. And look at Arizona at 3. You got Monty Ossenfort. Nobody knows.
I have no idea what the Cardinals are
Jonathan Gannon. They want a defensive guy. They want to make Kyler Murray happy. Nobody knows. That's where all the Paris Johnson talk comes from, because Kyler wants an offensive lineman. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what these.
One of my bold predictions, if I had to make one, I think DeAndre Hopkins is not an Arizona Cardinal tonight. I think he's here with the Chiefs, the Ravens.
Ravens. A lot of Ravens talk. They're trying to make Lamar as happy as possible.
And Lamar's happy right now. He's happy right now.
Let me take one shot here at winning back the Eagle fans, since I ticked them off and said Frank Reich isn't the quarterback guru that some people make him out to be. If the Cardinals are going to make a trade tonight, I think it might be Budda Baker than the DeAndre Hopkins, because I don't think there's much interest in Hopkins around the league. Attitude, injury. Oh, everybody like to get their hands on Budda Baker. The question is, can you afford him?
I think the attitude stuff's a little overblown with DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay, we'll see.
As someone who's talked to DeAndre Hopkins before, I will say this. There are teams that are more than willing to get DeAndre Hopkins on their
Well, all these expensive big names, you're not going to get a lot for them.
But I think when you got Super Bowl contenders in the mix and they can afford to get rid of a first-round pick, I know that seems crazy, like the Eagles, and I think the Eagles set a parameter here with A.J. Brown. Little different situation, but Howie Roseman set a precedent here.
All right, so give me your evaluation, Mr. Amateur GMs. Eagles get what they want. With their first pick in the first round, they trade down in the second round. They got what they want, top of the second round. Would they give up number 62 for Budda Baker?
I would.
Yeah. With the Eagles? Probably not.
Late second. Budda Baker isn't worth a late second round pick, and we know how he is, Mr. Magician. He just did this great Jalen Hurts leave cap room available deal. Bring in Budda Baker.
I'll tell you what, I would trade a third round pick for Chase Young.
Wow, I
take a flyer on him.
I would do that in a second, but why? I don't think Washington would do that.
No, I don't think they would either.
Yeah, certainly not in the division. They're going to let him.
Did they pick up Chase Young's
They did not.
fifth-year
They
option?
declined.
They did
They
not,
declined it.
and I think what they're going to do is they're going to let him play out, see what happens this year. If he has a big year, they sign him.
Yeah, but there was a little bit of a theme this year. Atlanta with McGarry declined the option, re-signed him. Jacobs, they declined the option, put the franchise tag on him. Bradbury, they declined the option, re-signed him. Bit of a theme this year. Teams are starting to go in that direction. That's what I think Washington's going to do with Chase Young. With Buddha, I mean, he wants an extension. He's already highly paid. The Eagles did it with AJ. Would they do it at that position? That's the concern. I don't know if they want to go as high as,
If you want to win the Super Bowl this year, John, you get one of the best safeties for a late second round.
I said I would do it.
I would do it too.
You're asking me if the Eagles would do it.
Exactly.
My assumption is I don't think.
Okay, so this is my. You know how Peter King has the audio haikus or whatever he calls them. I don't have a haiku for tonight's draft, but I'm going to put out a couple names for you, and they do affiliate with the Eagles in some way, shape, or form. Rand Carthen, Brian Gutekunst, Joe Douglas.
So the Eagles are going to do deals with all of these guys?
No, I didn't say that. I'm just saying just watch for those guys.
Okay. All right. Those are guys to keep an eye on, not necessarily Eagle-related. All right. We shall see.
How he's going to fleece Gutekunst and Rand Carthon.
By the way, John, you would probably know this better than I do. Does Howie Roseman have a good relationship with Brian Gutekunst? Because I know he has a good relationship with Carthen and Douglas.
Haven't heard.
I don't know that he's ever done a deal with him off the top of my head.
I don't think Gutekunst and Douglas get along too well.
But they got the deal done.
I don't think too many people do get along with Gutekunst. Yeah, they got a deal done. That's about it.
It's kind of important from a Jet fan perspective. Jeff Kerr, a pleasure, buddy. Thank you very much for not only jumping on, but sticking around as long as you did. Good luck with your bowling playoffs tonight. Get home in front of the TV by the time the Eagles get on the clock for Thursday.
I'll be done by 8:15.
All right.
So, I want to hear about 290 plus, Jeff.
If I shoot 300 tonight, you will see a tweet. There will be tweets, as Elliot Shore Park says.
There you go. Jeff Kerr.
Elliot could bowl a 300. He can
I know he can.
A goal in the NHL. He can get a base hit in Major League Baseball. He can bowl a 300.
You know what? I just want to see Elliot shoot a basketball. That's all I want to see. I mean, I don't care. I know Elliot's an athletic guy, but I think he really stretched that back during the COVID year.
I think you need to spot Elliot 100 to get him to 300. That's just me.
Well, you know what? We got to do a live stream of me and Nick Farrow bowling. I think that would be
Piero.
Nick Farrow. I can never say his last name.
By the way, I saw Nick shooting the other day. He can shoot, man. He can stroke it. Nick Sirianni.
Oh, yeah. Nick Sirianni's a very athletic guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but doesn't he always lose to the kicker in the shooting? Doesn't Elliott always beat
Jake Elliott is phenomenal at everything. There are two people on the Eagles that are phenomenal at everything, Jake Elliott and Jordan Mailata. But in Jake's case, he's more of a golf, ping pong, hand-eye coordinator. I'm sure he's a great free throw shooter. I don't know if he's a great pure shooter in basketball. I'll have to ask. He does everything else well. Tremendous softball player. When he was at the Carson Wentz game, he does everything. It's unbelievable.
By the way, John, did you see a good friend of ours is now follically challenged or made himself?
Jason Kelsey.
Yeah, he made himself follically challenged.
He shaved his.
He shaved
the dome. Yeah.
Wow, I haven't seen that picture yet. I'm gonna have to. Look that up
it's great. Look up New Heights live show. You'll see it.
JK, thank you much, buddy, for hopping in today. We'll get you back up in a couple weeks. Thanks, bud.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks, guys.
Jeff Kerr, follically challenged as he is, here with us on Birds 365. When did Kelsey shave the dome?
Well, he was doing a live podcast, and he was out there with no shirt on, shaved head.
Damn, I'd say he's slicked up and ready to go for another season. We'll come back and talk more about the draft. We got the Prince of Darkness, Bob Groats, joining us coming up. Shoot, less than 20 minents now.
Yeah,
so
we went long. Sorry about that.
We went long with Kerr, but it was good. So that's why we kept Jeff on. We'll come back. Roach yet to come here on Birds 365.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
Imagine for a moment that you went to work today and when you came home, you were catastrophically injured. Your life and your family's life. That's what happened to union construction worker Mike Little.
I was scared of what the end was going to be, but to be 100% honest with you, I knew I was going to be all right just by talking with Brian. In my heart, I just knew everything was going to be all right.
Call the firm and find out why they say, "We got this." Call 215-458-2222.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Got your Mega Mac guys here on Birds 365. It is draft day. The countdown is on. We're now down under 11 hours before the draft gets underway. About 12 hours and change until the Eagles pick, or at least they're scheduled to pick at number 10. And we're talking about whether they actually make that pick at 10, whether a guy falls down to them that they like. They will attempt to move up. Can they get that done? If they can't, will they drop back down? We'll see Howie Roseman's magic as we get closer to when the Eagles get on the clock. A big part of what they're going to do in the first round, believe it or not, has to do with a position that the Eagles have had no interest in whatsoever because they kind of got their guys. Name's Jalen Hurts. But quarterbacks will have a major impact on what the Eagles do at number 10 in the draft tonight because how many quarterbacks are going to go between 1 and 9? There are 4 quarterbacks that are thought to at least be possibilities. Johnny was giving us a scenario where somehow Hendon Hooker was up at number 12. I just don't believe that, but I don't think anybody thinks Hendon Hooker's going in the top 10. But the other 4 quarterbacks have all been mentioned as a possibility to go before the Eagles pick at number 10. So I shot you this text last night, well after Orange Cassidy came out and wowed him at the AEW show last night. But I said I was going to ask you this question to give you some time to come up with some answers because I have my answers. The 4 quarterbacks who have a chance to go in the top 10 tonight. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. Give me a guy, and this will tell our viewers what we think of the quarterbacks. Give me a guy who is currently playing in the National Football League who you think one of the 4 quarterbacks who will be drafted tonight's career will end up like, that you think you can parallel them with a current NFL quarterback. Young, Stroud, Levis, Richardson.
I didn't know it had to be current.
If you went someone other than current, that's fine too. But all 4 of the guys I'm going to use are current NFL quarterbacks.
Well, Bryce Young, it's interesting because I think you got to go, he's small. So, I mean, you got to go with one of the other smaller quarterbacks. And I think, Kyler Murray's more frenetic, more athletic. He's savvier. I think Russell Wilson is, stronger. So I don't think those 2 are comps. So I think the closest comp, and he's more athletic, but the closest comp would be Drew Brees to Bryce Young. Now, it's not fair. I'm talking about traits-wise, not fair to compare somebody to a Hall of Famer. But that's the closest one. He's such a unique player. There's so few quarterbacks that are that small. It's tough to come up with a comp. So that's my comp for him.
I thought along the same lines you as the comp, but I did go current quarterbacks, not former quarterbacks. And yeah, he's not as strong as him, but I think the Russell Wilson comparison is right on. Unless you're telling me you fear that he's going to be constantly hurt. One of the things about Russell Wilson is he plays. He doesn't get hurt. And I don't know that.
No, it doesn't have to do with durability, but like Russell is tough to tackle. Russell is tough when you get into the pocket, or he had been, obviously struggled last year. And he's got that spin move but I don't think he has that kind of power to get out of stuff like that. So that's what I meant by, he's got to get the football out. He's savvy. He's got more athleticism. That's why I shift more towards Drew Brees than a Russell Wilson.
Because of the athleticism, I couldn't go with Brees because Brees had no athleticism. He was one of the all-time great quarterbacks, but didn't have athleticism. And Bryce Young does have some of that. So that's why I would comp him to Wilson. All right, C.J. Stroud, current or past quarterback, do you think his career could look like?
This is the one. The other 2 were easy for me. This is the one where
all right, you want to put Stroud on the side? Will Levis, who you comping him to?
Jeff George. Just tremendous. And by the way, not from there's 2 guys I thought of, Jeff George and Jay Cutler. Phenomenal arm talent. They both happen to be wacko. I'm not saying he's a wacko from I have no idea. Never met Will. Never. I'm just talking pure arm talent. Like I would watch Jeff George and I go, damn. Same thing with Jay Cutler. I don't think anybody's ever thrown a better back shoulder fade than Jay Cutler. I think it was better than Aaron Rodgers. Just put a pinpoint. That's who I think about when I think about Will Levis. Hopefully he's got more above the shoulders than those 2 guys who are both kind of not leaders, to be kind. That part I don't know about, but just from a physical perspective, that's the 2 guys I came up with.
Yeah, I don't think Levis has that kind of arm talent. I think his arm talent is overrated. And I'll give you another guy who was blatantly overrated and is what he is. Will Levis equals Mitch Trubisky. They moved up to take Mitch Trubisky in the draft, and whoever takes Will Levis will get the same kind of results.
Mitch is way more athletic. Way more. Mitch Trubisky is really athletic. That I will never take that away from Mitchell Trubisky. Still is. I mean, he's just, again, went to a bad situation. who knows what happens if Mitchell Trubisky goes with Andy Reid? I say it all the time with Donovan McNabb in '99. I would love to see. You can't do it. I would love to see Tim Couch and Achilles Smith with Andy Reid, but you can't see it. I would love to see Mitchell Trubisky with Andy Reid, but you can't see it. Bad situation. Very athletic player. That's why I go a different direction.
Really? What was Mitch Trubisky's all-time rushing yards for a season? I don't have it in front of me, but I think you're overstating what kind of an athlete. How do we determine Mitch Trubisky's an athlete?
Well, watch him play. I mean, when he did play in Chicago, I'm not saying he's Justin Fields, but he could. He there was a lot of RPO remnants in that offense because of his ability to move. Yeah, I mean, Mitchell Trubisky, I mean, that's the whole point of why he got drafted as high as he did, because he was a tremendous athlete. And, they missed out on the other parts of it. But not a good quarterback. I'm not trying to say that, but, he's also, shorter. He's not the big strapping pocket passer. We differ on that one.
Yeah, no, I didn't see any parts of Mitch Trubisky game. Granted, yeah, he wasn't in a great situation in Chicago, but he flashed nothing for me with either his arms or his legs during his entire NFL career. And that's what I think Will Levis is going to be. The toughest one for me was Richardson, because there isn't a perfect guy like him. You think that's easy? Tell me.
Well, I was going back again. I wasn't talking about now. Now there isn't. I mean, now there isn't. If you're limiting yourself to now, that's why I don't think you can do that. He's very unique. Most people go Cam Newton, but he's far more athletic than Cam Newton. I go to Dante Culpepper, somebody who I actually got to cover. And I still remember the first day I met Dante Culpepper. I said, I think my exact word were, God damn, this guy's a quarterback, because he was 6'5", 260, bigger than some of all the linebackers they had, could run, could outrun them athletically. Also, turned into a tremendous throwing the football as well. That's the guy I came up with for Anthony Richardson.
Culpepper was a significantly more accurate quarterback coming out of college than Richardson was.
But he wasn't he turned into he had one of the greatest seasons ever, for people that forget, before he tore his knee up. But he went to Central Florida. It was not a strength early in his career, accuracy, but he was playing with Chris Carter, Randy Moss, Jake Reed. He had big time talent at wide receiver, and he slowly developed. Again, situation. And I'm talking ceiling. I'm not, that's ceiling. All these guys. Bryce Young ain't going to turn into Drew Brees, most likely. Anthony Richardson's probably not going to turn into Dante Culpepper, most likely. Ceiling is what I'm kind of talking about with these. Even Jay Cutler and Jeff George, those were really effective players. Not as effective as they should have been, but really effective players. And CJ Stroud, man, I don't know who you came up with, because I had to look at Lance Zierlein's comp, and he went with Jared Goff, and I don't see that at all.
No, I think he's going to be better than Goff.
Let me ask you this, because we're comparing different things. I'm comparing traits. You seem to be comparing who they're going to be result-wise.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That to me is a different conversation.
Yeah, I factored in traits, but traits need to lead to results, was the way I mentally exercised my way through finding matches. Eventually, it needs to end up with results, but you surely use the traits that the guys have to get those type of results.
Yeah.
And the guy I've got for Richardson is for CJ Stroud is Herbert. Just a guy who can stay in the pocket when he needs to extend the play, and he showed it in the national championship game. He can turn it up and run. I see Herbert like Rodgers. When he has to do it, he can take off. He'd prefer not to do it. They'd prefer to not have him do it. They want him just sit back there and throw the football all over the lot. I think C.J. Stroud will be a lot like Justin Herbert when he gets into the National Football League, if he gets with a team that has the similar philosophy.
Well, maybe result-wise, but yeah, I don't think they're the same type of player. So I will say that, Justin's the big strapping, traditional pocket passer.
Well, is it Herbert?
Arm. Justin Herbert, yeah. Justin Herbert.
You don't think Stroud is?
Oh, Justin Herbert is. Let me look him up real quick. Got to be 6'5", maybe. I don't know. 6'6". Yeah, I mean, he's just massive. 6'6", 240. He is the traditional old school big arm pocket passer. And he's got more athleticism than a lot of those old school guys, but there are very few physically. And again, we're comparing different things. I'm just comparing traits. They're much different players. Now, will they end up with the same kind of careers? Yeah, that's a possibility. But I mean, there aren't too many 6'6", 240 guys with howitzers hanging off their shoulders coming around.
Well, I think Stroud could have that kind of a career if he's an inch shorter and 15 pounds lighter. I don't think that will make the difference. I'm not going to just comp him out as per height and weight. I think he's shown the ability to just flat out spin it from the pocket the same way that Herbert did coming out of Oregon and has since he got into the NFL with the Chargers. All right, I see we got the Prince of Darkness. Our buddy Bob Groats going to jump in next here on Birds 365.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Imagine for a moment that you went to work today and when you came home, you were catastrophically injured. Your life and your family's life. That's what happened to union construction worker Mike Little.
I was scared of what the end was going to be, but to be 100% honest with you, I knew I was going to be all right just by talking with Brian. In my heart, I just knew everything was going to be all right.
Call the firm and find out why they say, "We got this." Call 215-458-2222.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Appreciate you streaming in here on Birds 365 with Mac and Mac, McMullen and McDonald. We got Bob Groats on with us. He's in the car. He's drinking. That looks too big to be a coffee cup. You doing lighter liquids already at 9:27 in the morning, Groats?
No, not me. That's not me at all.
What do we got there?
Well,
Is
what
that,
are you drinking?
we're giving a free plug. Is that a Wawa?
got-
Is that
Well,
a
no,
Tim
but it's a
Hortons? That
Wawa
looks like
cup.
a Tim Hortons cup.
It's a Wawa cup. It's Wake the Hell Up Keurig coffee. It's great.
Keurig? You go Keurig, huh? Straight up coffee or you go flavored?
I only go Keurig when I'm on this show because I need an extra jolt, especially at 9:22. Well,
Are
what
you
we at?
already down at the NovaCare complex? Are you ready? Are you that hyped up for this?
Oh, hey, I'm telling you, this is the day of the year that I live for. Day one of the draft. I can't wait to see how we trade up for a guy who's not going to play.
That's why we call you the Prince of Darkness, because
Oh,
of comments like that. So you're projecting and predicting that they're going to get Jalen Carter, how he's going to do the
I
deal,
think he's going
whatever it
Paris
takes.
Johnson. What do you think? You're going
No,
Paris Johnson on?
I think John, you had a good idea with the defensive tackle Carter. If they could do that, I would really endorse that move. That would be borderline brilliant. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it depends on the asking price, obviously, but I don't think the teams ahead of them are going to let that happen. And but that would be a good deal for me. And I say, what I said last year when they traded up to get Jordan Davis in the first round, and he was really, let's be honest, he was so ordinary. They brought in a couple of veteran defensive tackles to shore up that front. He had some injury problems, but come on. I mean, he definitely wasn't he definitely didn't give them the push or that nose tackle play that they needed. So, and then the second round, I mean, you look at the whole draft. I mean, they didn't trade up, but Juergens, special teams. And in the third round, the linebacker, it's like,
nobody played except Reed Blankenship. So
yeah, I mean, I know people want to. They love the job Howie's done, and he got AJ Brown. He got rid of a first round pick. They spent 2 years trying to get that right. So they dumped a first round pick to get AJ Brown, which I thought was a good move, and or a flip flop of picks and a second round.
They gave up a first round.
Yeah,
pick.
I mean,
he
was a great
$25 million a year.
Yeah, that was a pretty reasonable price though when you looked at that market. So
now it is, yeah.
Now it is. I mean that was kind of one of those distress sales. It's kind of like what Josh Harris does. Distress sale. I'm moving in there, baby.
Ooh, I like the Josh
Harris. Getting it at a bargain, and I'm going to do some. And they did a great job with that.
When Groats went, the guy will never play. I thought he meant Jalen Carter because he's going to get caught street racing south of.
Yeah.
Well, that's big at the NovaCare complex.
Yeah, not far from. You don't have to get too far from the NovaCare complex to be doing street racing. Make it easier on them.
No, you could hear some people motoring up and down that street. I don't know who they are, but there's some muscle car action out there, and
there is.
And it's a nice straightaway for whoever wants to be out there. But I think that would be a good move. But you're right, Jody. There have to be some concerns about this guy, and I'm not basing this at all on he didn't run or work out well at his workout. With all the stuff that was going on with him, who would have expected that? I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty. He's on probation.
I got a question for both you guys, and you're going to have to hold up your right hand and say, "I promise to tell the truth on this one." Okay, go ahead. Raise your right hand.
I always tell the truth, Jody.
Bob Groats, raise your right hand. That would be your left. Is that his right? Because we're looking back. That's his right. Okay. I promise to tell the truth. Out of all of you Eagle beat guys, who's got the best chance of having Big Dom as a source? Because the Jalen Carter thing will be determined, at least we're told, by the amount of research the Eagles can get in on him and have a good feel or not a good feel about him. Does Big Dom leak to any of you guys?
Oh, well, I'm not that you're never going to get that answer from me. Yeah.
But man, you put your right hand up. You said you tell me the truth.
Well, yeah, but that's
no can do, huh? Unfair question by me, not the first I've ever asked.
No, but that deal that he was in, and really obviously tragic. He did stuff that a 21-year-old kid sometimes does. It's very poor judgment, and you have to wonder about that. But you also have to wonder, either he or the people around him, his counsel. I mean, he took responsibility for it right away, and this is his second chance. So
and Jeffrey's proven over the years he will give people second chances.
That's true.
So
he and Tracy Rocker too. I'm not saying he's going to be his father or anything like that, or his pseudo father, but Tracy Rocker will get I think could get the most out of a guy like Jalen Carter. I think he could, and there's some veterans on that team too that have been through some stuff. Fletcher Cox could he could be a stabilizing influence. So I think that definitely is a concern though. Because
now I will take issue with this, Bob. If they're trading up to get Jalen Carter or even Paris Johnson, they're going to play. They're going to play. They're going to play this year. Paris Johnson's going to play ahead of Cam Jurgens. Mark my words. Right, Jalen Carter's going to play
ahead of Cam Jurgens.
Oh yeah,
I'm going to have to go back and look at that Cam Jurgens capsule summary before the draft. Yeah. Obviously, that was a joke, John. I mean, last year they really didn't get a lot of impact out of the draft. That was the point I was trying to make. So, but a guy like Carter, Paris Johnson, I think the guy that fits the Eagles mold more than him is Skoronski. I mean, he's an Eagle through and through. He's got the stubby arms. I understand that, but he reminds me of Kelsey with size. That guy is going to have a pretty decent career, I think.
That would surprise me.
The reason I like Paris Johnson better is because that selection will have twofold ramifications going forward. Number one is who plugs in, plays right tackle this year, and then who eventually replaces Lane Johnson. I think Paris Johnson can do just as good a job, probably about a push this year as compared to Skoronski at right guard. And then I think he's a better right tackle going forward. So that's why I would take him over Skoronski.
Yeah, I don't know about the push, but I agree. On the edge, you want the longer arms definitely help you. Let's be honest about that. So
that's why if Skoronski and Paris Johnson are both there, I'm taking Paris
Johnson. Yeah, he's played left tackle, right, John?
Yeah, he played, but he played right guard. He played right guard.
Well, actually, I think Skoronski has played left tackle too. But
they both have great versatility. So
those both of those positions, huge areas of needs of need on this team,
now,
as well as cornerback. What if they took a cornerback? If everybody, I mean, that would be interesting.
They could. Christian Gonzalez.
I don't think they. I like Christian Gonzalez.
I talked about him.
Yeah.
One of the things we haven't talked about, and you mentioned it with AJ a little bit, a lot of veteran names on the market. Odds that Howie trades for a veteran player. Buda Baker would be the most obvious. Maybe Devin White.
Nah,
somebody like that.
Buda Baker's got a big salary, doesn't he?
Yeah.
You might as well wait for him to get cut, And that operation in Arizona, that operation is really hanging on a thread, I mean, there's like now they're in the middle of an arbitration, borderline lawsuit with an executive. I mean, there's allegations of burner phones and stuff like this. What a mess. And
I didn't
Jonathan
know Brian.
Gannon,
Well, Brian Colangelo was out in Phoenix for a long time.
that was
Good
bizarre,
point, John.
man.
Good catch.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, that is weird, man. I mean, who wants to work in that kind of atmosphere? I feel sorry. There's a lot of good people there. I feel sorry for them having to work in that. But there's some problems. But I wouldn't be surprised. If he's very unhappy, they're going to have a fire sale or they'll let him go.
Howie, there were rumors of him looking at team issued phones for leaks. He got over it. He got over it.
You're asking who would take a job out there for that organization. Well, your boy, Jonathan Gannon, said, yeah, let me be the head coach of this team.
Even after
he willingly
Bob said
went to
fire him.
Arizona to join that dumpster fire that is the organization.
Yeah. Well, John, I only needed one stop out of him in that second half of the Super Bowl. Just one.
Well, I think everybody
it was
needed
too much to ask. Yeah.
You got one out of Jim Schwartz back in the day.
Yeah.
Didn't get one out of JG.
Well, you got it out of Brandon Graham. Yeah. God. Hey, but how about that press conference Gannon did out there where he kind of ripped on the Philadelphia media? I thought that was interesting,
Well,
I think I heard him whisper the word Groats when he said that, but
I don't get.
I may have imagined that.
He was all over the place
he
with that,
whispered
Jody.
Cataldi, but I thought I might have heard Groats too.
Yeah, he might have heard me say
he's
something.
He's got to tighten it up. You can't embellish and people check that stuff. He's got to tighten it up.
Who told him it was that way? I mean, we were all wondering what market was he talking about? Was that Chicago? Was it Denver? Was it was it Minnesota? Was it
evil.
Indianapolis?
The Philly
I
media.
About. Yeah,
the Philly media, Bob, is evil.
I think
the third Tuesday of every month, I said, we get together and decide to call for whomever's job at that particular time. Bob has been at many of these meetings. Third Tuesday of every month. We move it around, though.
Is it called Scalp Thursday? Whose scalp are you going to call for? Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you can't be in the same spot all the time. Yeah, it was silly. Yeah. It was silly. Nobody called for his job.
Yeah.
Well, Angela did.
No, it was. And here's why it was silly to me is they were fine with the way that he was.
Oh, Jeffrey wanted to give him a raise.
Because they had. Yeah. Well, that I don't understand. I mean, what?
They didn't want to lose him.
And by the way, he confirmed it. Jeffrey confirmed it out at the league meetings. He was going to give him a raise. The Eagles were fine with him coming back. But clearly, he can't handle this market. I mean, clearly he heard all the criticism. And you got to let that stuff roll off your back. I mean, you can't let it bother you.
All right,
our buddy Seth Joyner is going to call for the blitz. So what? Do what you want. You're in charge.
Yeah, I don't think Seth actually called for his job, but he certainly called for
the blitz.
A lot for Jonathan.
You got to plug up those walk-in touchdowns, though, John. You got to do something about those. Those are not good.
Maybe if guys communicate, maybe you can plug that up.
How can you give a guy a raise after the 2 walk-in touchdowns? I mean, that's insanity. Come on, man.
The Eagles did play a couple of games before the last fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. So I think they judged Jonathan Gannon over the long haul, not that very bad ending.
If the Eagles don't give up 2 walk-in touchdowns in their next playoff game, Howie's going to be a genius for bringing in this new defensive coordinator.
Right. Speaking of that new defensive coordinator, John and I gave our picks earlier on who we think the Eagles are going to take with their first 2 picks. Could be both in the first round. Could be a trade down of the second round. Could be a trade down of the first, but it'll stay in the first round. I've got him taking another offensive player with an additional second round pick with a trade down. John had a defensive player in the second round. How many, the Eagles' top 2 picks, where do you have them going? And break them down offense and defense for us, Bobby.
Well, I think that they probably are going to trade down. I think it'll be easier to trade down. If they trade up and get Carter, I think that's great. I think that's a really good draft right there. But I think they trade down and they end up with somebody like the Georgia guy, Nolan Harris, right?
Nolan,
okay. Edge rusher.
Nolan Smith.
Nolan Smith. I was right there. Okay, and then at the end of the round, DeJuan Jones, that guy from Ohio State.
Oh yeah, big right tackle.
Yeah, that
he
guy
might go in the first round. He might
lot of
sneak in.
upside with that guy. That they're probably going to trade. They may trade out of it, but if he's there and they move down, he's a natural right tackle, right guard. He's played them both at Ohio State. 6'8", 350.
He's huge.
Yeah, I mean,
he's
and
my lot of
he's
size.
if you can see some of his highlight tape, the guy has great feet for someone like that. He's kind of mulatto with more football experience. So I mean, I think I could see him doing that. That would make a lot of sense to me.
And correct me if I'm wrong. If he wasn't the first, he was absolutely one of the earlier guys that the Eagles brought in for a visit.
Yeah,
like
he was here. Yeah.
Very early in the process, and sometimes you read into that, and that's who they really like, and sometimes it's a false front.
Right.
That does make some sense if they get to him at the bottom. So you got defense first, and then offense.
Right,
Johnny Mac's got who you got? Do you think
I got defense? I got defense.
Oh, see, Eagle fans gotta love me today because I'm offense.
Yeah.
Offensive line early and running back in the second.
Well, they don't love you because you didn't give them what they want, and what they want, Bob Groats, is Bijan Robinson.
Right.
Where are you on the Bijan talk?
I don't think that if they stayed at 10, I don't think that's such a bad pick. I've gone back and forth on this.
Wait, are you going Nick Sirianni on me? Are you going to pander to these fans?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm excited.
You could do a lot worse. I think the
you
guys
can wait, hold on. Time out. There's a lot of things you can say about Groats. Pandering is not one of them.
Yeah.
Never. Yeah. All these times we've had Bob Groats on, I don't think he's ever pandered to anybody. You can't lay that at Bob Groats' doorstep.
John, shame on you, John, for even bringing that word up. Yeah, thanks, Jody.
You're welcome.
Yeah. But
Nick Sirianni, pander in chief. Bob Groats never pandered in his life.
That's right. That's right, Bob.
I wish that was true. Yeah. All right. But hey, to me, I kind of like that. I mean, I don't 10 is really high for him. I happen to think that the Falcons are going to end up with him, and that coach Arthur Smith is going to get his bell cow back, or whatever you want to call it. I think he's going to make an effort to do that. There have been a lot of smoke.
You think he's going at 8? You think Bijan's off the board before the Eagles ever pick?
I think I think they'd have to move ahead of them.
I hope for the Eagles' sake that happens. Because if they pass,
it makes everything easier. It does.
Yeah.
It would be a frenzy here, but the guy's got. I mean, you can't help but look at those highlights and say, "Wow, he can catch the ball.
Oh, he's a good player.
He can split outside and everything." You already got a lot of guys you got to get the ball to, and Jalen Hurts is a big part of that run game right now, whether anybody wants to realize it or not. Yeah, he's a big part of it. I mean, a lot of it is off schedule, but so who's going to get the ball? I mean, does it justify that type of deal? And I think he could be. I think he's a perfect back for this offense, though.
All right, give me a percentage of Bijan Robinson being here. Well, what are we talking about? Is it legitimate? Is it 10%? Is it just a long shot? You're leaving a sliver of the door open.
I don't think he gets past Atlanta, so I think it's a long shot. There's no way they trade up for a running back. That would stun me. I mean, and even a guy with that kind of talent, and there's a lot of what did Howie say? He wants a unique player.
Unique.
Yeah,
everybody hung on to that.
Yeah,
I told Jody I went to thesaurus.com and looking for a picture of Bijan Robinson because the minute he said unique, everybody said, "Oh, he's taking Bijan." I'm like, I missed when that was the synonym for.
Would you consider Tyree Wilson unique?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of. I mean,
talking about. I think he was talking about Tyree. I think he was talking about Jalen Carter, and I think he was talking about Paris Johnson.
Yeah. Well,
and
Tyree
I assume
Wilson,
he was talking about Will Anderson, but that I don't know.
I think people, the Tyree Wilson. The guy is coming off Liz Frank's surgery. I think people forget that. He really hasn't done anything for it'll be close to a year in training camp, So that's a question for me. I mean, are you going to devote that
Yeah,
type
there
of
was thought
resource.
that Houston wouldn't take him because of the medicals.
I don't know about that, man. I mean, look at Isaac Samalo. He had a tough road back.
Yeah.
He did make it back. He looked great, but
He looked tremendous.
yeah,
Not
but
good enough to sign though, but he looked tremendous.
does an offensive guard? Does that injury affect an offensive guard the same way it
You
affects
need a lot
a
of
pass
power to
rusher?
play guard, man.
Sure.
You need a lot of power to play guard,
Well,
especially the way Sam.
You know what the snap count is. The defensive lineman doesn't. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about that.
All right, when you guys,
I wouldn't have him. I'd have him low in the first round on my board because of the medical.
Wow. Well, low in the first round. No, he's not getting at it.
I mean, in the 20s, yeah.
I could
maybe
see him
not the
drop
20s.
into 6 or 7, but nowhere past.
Oh, I out of the top 10 for sure for me.
all right, good take out of Mr. Groats here. All right, besides Howie and Nick Sirianni, will there be anyone else down there at the NovaCare complex tonight that you guys, while maybe not in front of a podium, might be able to just see and bump into and get a quote from on or off the record? Is there any other Eagle employee that you're hoping that that's the case tonight?
Does Bradley Cooper count?
You think he'll be at the NovaCare
He'll
complex
probably
tonight,
be at the building. Yeah.
Okay.
He's the ultimate fan.
Yeah,
What
we
about
won't be
Dave
allowed near
Spadaro?
Bradley. Yeah,
What
Dave
about Dave
Spadaro.
Spadaro?
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that. Dave is very tight.
Don usually shows up at some point, usually day 3, to give us some beer at the end.
No, Dom is there every time that.
No, not
Howard-
Don. Don Smolensky.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who
No,
did
yeah,
you
Dom's
say?
always there.
Did you say Smolensky or Slowensky? Yeah.
That's
I didn't
good.
hear that. All right.
He will be there.
You know, but let's be honest too about this draft. There's a lot of. I mean, with two.
There's no Andy Weidel this year, by the way. We haven't talked about that. There's no Andy Weidel.
I don't even know. I don't know. I don't even know who has who's making.
Nobody
who's doing
knows.
the
Nobody
football
knows
end
who
of that.
number 2 is.
I think Nick has a lot more say than he had previously. Yeah.
Well, then here's the name I want to know. Will you get a chance to at least identify him, even if you don't get to ask him a question? Will Sean Desai make an appearance? Because he hasn't officially been given his entree to Philadelphia media, has he? The
No.
Eagles' new defensive coordinator. What happens if they go defense tonight? Aren't you going to want to hear from the defensive coordinator how he's going to deploy these guys?
Jody doing our job
tonight?
again. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I would like to hear it, but I'm not going to hear it.
But he's not. Yeah,
He's in hiding. They're going to bring him in through the back door. How are you not going to get a chance to talk to the defensive coordinator?
They will wait until the off-field portion of OTAs begins, is my guess at this point.
To your question, Jody, he'll be in the lunchroom at some point, and he'll be having a soda or something. The one thing about the coaches, they cannot keep away from the writers the whole time. Right, John?
Yeah.
They got to at least make an appearance and say hi. They always do,
Yeah.
Even if it's
they're not going to let us in the cafeteria. Those days are over.
They won't let us in for dinner? Yeah.
They
For
will
dinner?
not. No, they won't.
Yeah, they will.
Mark my
See,
words.
that's a problem. That's why Groats is in the car. He wants to get me first in line. Now
They-
you're telling him
they-
he's
right.
wasting his time going up there at 10:30?
They
Don't
shut
do that
that
to him, John.
Bob, they shut that down during the pandemic. It is not coming back. You're going to get some kind of delivery to the media house. That is my prediction.
Now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, last night, or last year, yeah. They had a buffet upstairs. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
From
If you
Rosati's
do-
or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
If you do get at least a vision of Sean Desai, love to know about it. John will be here tomorrow. He'll tell me whether he actually saw the Eagles' new defensive coordinator or not. Mr. Groats, wherever you are traveling, do steer clear of John McMullen tonight. There could be another episode in the works. John's very excited about this draft, so beware of spillage. Okay, buddy?
All right. Always a pleasure, guys. I'll catch you around. And
all right. Thanks, Bob.
Yeah,
I'll
be
see
good.
you later. Hopefully.
Bob Groats. He is a piece of work. Not a panderer. He is a piece of work, but he is not
Starting
a
to
pander.
pander with that Bijan stuff. Lying
No,
to the people.
You don't think Groats would give you the honest opinion? Do you really think he would do that? He would fold to the growing sentiment of Eagles Nation, or do you think he's a man who stands on his own beliefs?
I'm just poking fun.
Exactly right. Don't you dare say that about our guy Groats. All right, McDonald and McMullen coming back. We got to put a bow on the show. Last couple of minutes of the draft day version of Birds 365.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Imagine for a moment that you went to work today and when you came home, you were catastrophically injured. Your life and your family's life. That's what happened to union construction worker Mike Little.
I was scared of what the end was going to be, but to be 100% honest with you, I knew I was going to be all right just by talking with Brian. In my heart, I just knew everything was going to be all right.
Call the firm and find out why they say, "We got this." Call 215-458-2222.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Last couple of minutes of Birds 365. The countdown is on. 8 o'clock is start time for the draft. So Roger's got to come out and make a statement. On the clock, here comes the Carolina Panthers, blah, 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 blah. So the first pick isn't going to get made till about 8:20, and the Eagles are 9 picks later. So it's going to be after 9 o'clock when the Eagle pick comes down, and then forget about 30. That's going to be midnight by the time the Eagles make that pick. But we will be here tomorrow to talk about the 1 or 2 picks the Eagles make. John, correct me if I'm wrong, but both you and I had the Eagles only making 1 pick tonight, that they will trade number 30 into the second round. But I'm going to ask about it, even though we'll have tomorrow to ask you about it as well. Who do you have the Eagles taking with their first 2 picks?
I have Nolan Smith. I have them going 3rd year in a row. It was Alabama, then it was Georgia. Was first and 3rd round. I'm going Georgia duo again. Nolan Smith, Calais Ringo as my first 2 picks. But I think they want to go up and get Jalen Carter. Either way, it's going to be Georgia.
You got Georgia. I don't. I have them going.
Georgia on my mind.
The Rose Bowl is my matchup because I got Ohio State and UCLA. Paris Johnson at number 10, and they trade down into the second round where they can get the running back. Sorry for the Bijan crazed Eagle fans. I don't think he'll be a Philadelphia Eagle, but I'm hoping that Zach Charbonnet is that the Eagles will be able to negotiate out of that first round pick high in the second and take a guy like Charbonnet, who I think would be a nice pick. I really like my line of strategy, except for one thing. I got them taking 2 offensive guys. And truth be told, you look at the Eagle roster today, as we see here today, Johnny Mac, if they need upgrading, they need more upgrading on the defensive side than they do the offensive
you can
side.
always hang,
and I got them taking 2 offensive players.
You can always hang your hat on Jeffrey Lurie. That's what people do. So, he said
true.
offense. So that's why people say Bijan, Bijan, because you only got one football. So, I mean, you already got the number 1 ranked running game and 11 personnel. And I do think people get caught up too much in one game. Oh, well, you didn't run the football in the Super Bowl. Well, guess what? Jim Brown had bad games. Walter Payton had bad games. Emmitt Smith had bad games. That's why you look at the larger sample size. They don't need an improvement in the running game from a larger perspective. They need improvements on defense where they lost half of their defense, half of their starting defense. You got to line up with somebody.
Is Nolan Smith that answer, though? I'm not sure about that. But you got both sides defense, right? You went D-line and corner.
Yes.
So
D-line and corner.
John is banking on that very good Georgia defense matriculating here to Philadelphia. It's probably not a bad bet. All right, tomorrow we got Les Bowen jumping in with us early. Very Eagle-centric tomorrow. Les Bowen has only been covering the Eagles for decades, and our bud Chris Franklin from NJ.com will jump in and give us some analysis of the 1 or 2 guys the Eagles take. Jody Mac thinks it's only going to be 1.
Right, maybe it'll be 0. Maybe maybe he'll trade out.
I will guarantee you, Bob Groats has a better chance of becoming a panderer than the Eagles trading out of both picks for future picks. No. They did. We do remember that second half of the Super Bowl. They didn't win the Super Bowl.
Yes.
So Howie's kind of obligated to take at least 1 player in the first round tonight. Johnny Mac, we're going to do this all over again, but it'll be new information we'll be talking about tomorrow here on Birds 365. I'm in. You?
I will be here with little sleep, but I will be here, Jody.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and predict that John McMullen has a black shirt on. Just if that's the only prediction I get right between now and tomorrow when we return, I will predict that John McMullen has
green screen, baby. Johnny Cash.
Jody McDonald back with Johnny Cash tomorrow on Birds 365 in 2 and 2.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.